you're telling me the broken can be beautiful again. The broken can be beautiful.
Hi, I'm Tracy.
And I'm Destiny.
Today, we're going to be doing something a little different. Instead of sharing just one family story, we want to give you some additional information you may have not heard before. Facts about the history of the NICU, why babies are born early, and what the outcomes really look like for moms and babies here in the US compared to other countries. There are things that many parents and families might not know, but they matter deeply. For fact number one, did you know that the first incubators for premature babies were inspired by poultry incubators at the Paris Zoo? In the 1880s, French doctor Dr. Etienne Tarnier borrowed the idea and saved countless preemies. His colleague Dr. Boudin went on to prove survival really improved when these warm chambers were used.
In the 1950s, more than 700 hospitals used something called the Bloxham airlock, an incubator that cycled pressure to mimic labor contractions while flooding babies with oxygen. At the time, doctors believed high oxygen saved lives. But what they didn't realize was that too much oxygen caused a condition called retinopathy of prematurity, or ROP, which damaged the eyes and often led to blindness. One of the most well known examples is Stevie Wonder. He was born 6 weeks premature in 1950 and placed in one of these oxygen rich incubators. The treatment helped him survive, but it left him permanently blind. His story shows how far neonatology has come. What once harmed babies now guides safer, more effective care in today's NICUs.
Fast forward to the 1980s, and surfactant therapy changed everything. Before then, respiratory distress syndrome, or RDS, was often fatal. The first successful human trial of surfactant happened in 1980, and within a decade, RDS mortality dropped by nearly 30%. Later came new techniques to make treatments less harsh on tiny lungs. One was called INSURE, short for intubation, surfactant, extubation, where doctors quickly placed a breathing tube just long enough to deliver surfactant, then removed it to avoid ventilator damage. Another one was LISA, less invasive surfactant administration, which lets surfactant be given through a tiny catheter instead of a full intubation. Both methods made care safer and gentler for fragile preemies. Fun fact, one of the doctors actually used both Insure and Lisa on Kyrie when she was born at 23 weeks. Those approaches gave her the best chance of survival while protecting her tiny lungs.
And NICU admissions keep climbing. Nearly 1 in 10 newborns in the U.S. now spend time in the NICU, up 13% since just 2016. What's striking is that this rise isn't just about the tiniest preemies. More late preterm and even full term infants are being admitted for things like breathing problems, jaundice, infections, and feeding difficulties. Advances in monitoring have also meant babies who might not have been admitted years ago are now receiving NICU care earlier, which can prevent complications. At the same time, this increase puts more pressure on families and healthcare systems, highlighting the need for stronger support both in and out of the hospital.
So let's talk about why babies are born early in the first place. Sometimes it's maternal health, things like preeclampsia, eclampsia, or HELP syndrome, which are all dangerous blood pressure complications. HELP alone still has a maternal mortality rate of about 1% today. I know this all too well because I developed preeclampsia and HELP syndrome, and that's why my daughter had to be delivered by emergency C section. And I know you had developed preeclampsia as well.
Yeah.
Stories like ours aren't rare. Unfortunately, these complications are some of the leading causes of preterm birth worldwide.
There's also cervical insufficiency, where the cervix opens too early without pain, leading to second trimester losses or preterm deliveries. In some cases, doctors place a stitch called a cerclage to help keep the cervix closed, And in certain pregnancies, progesterone may also be used to lower the risk of early labor. Doctors will often monitor cervical length by ultrasound because cervix measuring shorter than normal, especially under 25 millimeters before 24 weeks, is one of the strongest warning signs for preterm birth.
And then there are the placenta related complications. Placental abruption, when the placenta peels away from the uterus, causes up to 20% of perinatal deaths. Placenta previa, where it covers the cervix, often leads to preterm cesarean deliveries. Placenta accreta, where it grows too deep into the uterus, can cause massive bleeding and often forces early hysterectomy. Honestly, I think that is what Shayla had. I think it was that one.
Really?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
vasa previa is especially tragic. If not diagnosed, it's usually fatal. But with detection, survival rates jump to over 95%.
Infections are another driver. Chorioamnionitis, which is the infection of the membranes, placenta, and premature rupture of membranes, can trigger labor too early. And don't forget gestational diabetes and IVF pregnancies, which both increase risk, especially with multiple births.
And we also need to talk about uterine issues. Uterine rupture is rare, but when it happens, it's life threatening for both mother and baby. It can occur during labor, especially in women who have had previous cesarean sections. Most modern C sections are done with a low transverse incision, which is a lower risk. But with a classical C section, we know all too well, where the incision goes vertically through the upper uterus and then horizontally, the risk of rupture in a future pregnancy is much higher. That's why women with a classical incision are usually advised to deliver early by repeat C section before labor begins. Another fun fact, not really all that fun, but if you have a
Right.
classical C-section, the chances of you ever being able to try a VBAC is non-existent.
Also, the chances of carrying to term are pretty much non existent.
Yeah. Now, birth is such an incredible moment, but it can also come with unexpected complications. Some of these can be scary, and parents often don't hear about them until they're living it.
One of those complications is shoulder dystocia. That's when the baby's head delivers, but the shoulders get stuck behind the pelvic bone. It's an emergency because it can cut off oxygen if the baby isn't delivered quickly.
Did you know shoulder dystocia happens at about 1 in 200 births? Doctors are trained in maneuvers to help, but it can sometimes cause broken bones or nerve injuries for the baby.
Another complication is the use of a vacuum during delivery. It can sometimes prevent a C section, but it also comes with risks.
Did you know vacuums can cause scalp injuries, bleeding in the brain, or even long term neurological damage if something goes wrong?
One mom shared her story with us. Her baby was in distress. Her family begged for an emergency C section, but the doctor refused and forced a vacuum delivery. Stories like that remind us these aren't just statistics, they're families' lives. Did you know forceps are another tool sometimes used instead of a vacuum? They can help, but they also carry risks like facial injuries or trauma to both mom and baby.
Imagine forceps.
Right?
It
Literally.
just makes me think of like giant tongs and
Just sounds super uncomfortable for everybody
yes.
involved. And then there are emergencies like cord prolapse, when the umbilical cord slips down before the baby, or postpartum hemorrhage, which is heavy bleeding right after delivery. Both are life threatening and need quick action.
Did you know hemorrhage is still one of the leading causes of maternal deaths worldwide? Even here in the US, it remains one of the top concerns during and after birth.
Another complication that can happen is with the umbilical cord. Sometimes the cord can wrap around the baby's neck. That's called a nuchal cord. Most of the time, doctors can slip it over the baby's head safely, but in rare cases, it can cut off oxygen. Did you know nuchal cords happen in about 1 out of 3 deliveries? Most babies are totally fine, but sometimes it causes heart rate changes and doctors have to move fast.
That's a lot. When you think out of it like that, that's actually a lot. That's a high amount.
Honestly, 1 in 3 is crazy.
Yes. What the heck? And then there's also something called a true knot in the cord. literally a knot tied inside the womb. If it pulls tight, it can block blood and oxygen flow to the baby. Did you know true knots happen in about 1 in 100 pregnancies? Most are loose and don't cause problems, but a tight knot can be an emergency. Fun fact.
Didn't even know that was a
Yeah, Bruce was he was born early, but when he was born via C-section, he had 2 true knots in his umbilical cord, and 3 years later, so did his brother.
what? So is that like a genetic thing?
I have no idea, but it makes you wonder if
Yeah, that's
potentially it is. 'Cause, Bruce had a two-vessel umbilical cord, and so did Kyrie.
so it might be. That's crazy.
It's the stuff like that that gets you talking.
Mm, that is crazy.
So let's talk about amniotic fluid for a minute. It's basically the cushion and protection around the baby. It helps with movement, growth, and even lung development.
Sometimes there can be problems with how much fluid there is. Too little fluid, which they call oligohydramnios, can make it harder for the baby to move and develop properly. Doctors usually watch that closely and sometimes even deliver early if needed. I actually had anhydramnios, which means my baby had no fluid around her at all.
Geez, I wonder how often that happens.
Honestly, when that was happening with me, I couldn't even find any research on it. It just kept referring me back to oligohydramnios. So I have no clue.
Huh. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Did you know the average amount of amniotic fluid by the third trimester is about a quart? Too much or too little can change how closely a pregnancy gets monitored.
On the flip side, too much fluid is called polyhydramnios. That can cause a lot of pressure, and moms might feel short of breath or really uncomfortable. It can also trigger contractions or preterm labor.
Did you know too much fluid can actually push up on the mom's lungs and make it hard to breathe? In severe cases, doctors sometimes have to drain the fluid to protect both mom and baby.
And in those extreme cases, doctors can do what's called amnioreduction. They insert a needle through the mom's stomach into the uterus and remove some of the fluid. It's kind of like a medical pressure relief. It doesn't always last because the fluid can build back up, but it can make a huge difference.
But that makes me wonder if something like that could potentially be donated to moms in your situation who don't have fluid. Like, instead of inserting the needle to drain it, they would insert it to insert the fluid back. Or I wonder if they would be able to try to find, like, a sample of your fluid and replicate it and
So they
insert it
did
back.
try, I think when I was like 26 weeks, like on the dot, I had an appointment and somehow my fluid had came back. Like I had the tiniest bit. And so they were gonna do a amniocentesis to see like if they could figure out what was wrong or if there was anything else that we could do. But I don't really know exactly what they would have done because I ended up not making it to
Yeah.
my next appointment. But yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Makes me wonder if some like technology can come up with something like that in the future. Or that makes me wonder if other countries have already possibly figured out something like that. That could be more research that we can dig into.
Right. Hmm.
Did you know babies actually breathe in and swallow that fluid? It's how their lungs and digestive system practice developing before birth. That's one reason why low fluid can sometimes lead to NICU stays for breathing support. And fun fact, when you get into your 30 some weeks with your baby, you can watch them on sonograms practicing the swallow, suck, breathe reflex.
Yeah. Demi was insane when we got to 30.
It's so weird to see. It really is.
Especially knowing that the amniotic fluid is mostly their pee. It's like,
I
why would you
know.
wanna do that? But, I mean, it's good, I guess.
Ugh, I don't know. They when you think of it like that, you're just like, ew, why are you doing?
Right,
But also, how do we know that the ability to like do that? Like, how do they know to do that?
It's a reflex. Your brain just knows. I don't know. But yeah,
Wow,
it's
this
a
stuff is
reflex.
that's so fascinating. I wonder how they even discovered that.
Like odd because
We'll have to add that to
made
our
you even
list.
think to look at that, like
Right. Yeah.
and then, of course, there's the water breaking too early. Premature rupture of membranes, that can put both mom and baby at risk, especially if it happens before labor is supposed to start.
Did you know doctors check fluid levels with an ultrasound measurement called the AFI, the amniotic fluid index? It's a quick way to see if things are safe or if extra monitoring is needed.
And did you know when someone's water breaks, that's really just the amniotic sac rupturing and releasing the fluid? If it happens too early, it can raise the risk of infection and sometimes mean the baby needs NICU care.
So whether it's too little, too much, not enough, or the water water breaking too soon, amniotic fluid really plays a huge role in how a pregnancy goes, and sometimes it's the reason babies spend time in the NICU.
So basically, I had no fluid, duh. But
Yeah.
they basically told me that, like, okay, so initially they were thinking that I had no fluid because she had no kidneys or bladder because, like we said, it's pee. The fluid is pee.
Yeah.
So they were thinking that she wasn't able to pee and, she had no kidneys or bladder to help her pee. Then But then even with that happening, basically their only concern was her lungs. Like, they weren't concerned about her actual development. They just kept telling me, "Oh, her lungs probably won't develop because she won't have time for that suck and swallow and all those reflexes to form." So, I don't know, that's odd.
Well, now I'm thinking too, when does the amniotic fluid come? Like, is it there when you're conceived? Because I know the placenta, it doesn't technically like, it develops when you get pregnant, but I know the baby does not start receiving those nutrients until around 20 weeks. And then that's when they say
Really?
that your risk of preeclampsia, eclampsia, and all of those blood pressure issues can increase. And that's typically when it happens. So before you get to 20 weeks, it's less likely to happen because the baby is, I guess, getting
See,
it
but then
from
that's why
you.
I'm confused too because online it says that the baby is pretty much fully developed, like, it has all its body parts and whatnot by about 12 weeks. But
Yeah.
placenta doesn't develop until 20 weeks, then, like, how? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, it's
know.
so there's so
We
many
gotta do some more
questions.
research, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm kinda glad that we're talking about this. Like, yeah,
Right,
we don't know, but let's figure that out.
right. Let's figure it out together, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not just during birth. Some of the most dangerous complications actually happen after delivery.
Did you know postpartum hemorrhage, heavy bleeding after birth, is one of the most common emergencies? Without immediate treatment, it can lead to shock or death.
Then there's preeclampsia, which can continue even after delivery. And if it worsens, it can turn into eclampsia, which causes seizures and is life-threatening.
Did you know preeclampsia and eclampsia can cause thousands of maternal deaths every year worldwide? But with early detection and treatment, many cases can be managed.
So wait, you had preeclampsia. Did it ever get to eclampsia?
And shockingly, no, but it probably would have, because I developed HELP syndrome. So
Right.
instead of getting seizures, my organs started shutting down.
No. So
So there was no
did you do
choice.
like the regular 3-day hospital stay or were you there longer?
No, I literally went into the hospital at midnight and Kyrie was born 12 hours later at 12:58.
No, I mean
So
like after you had her. Did you stay or
no. Now,
no?
as soon as she was delivered, all of those issues just stopped. It was weird. Yeah, they monitored my blood pressure, they monitored, like, my urine and my blood and everything, and they were checking my platelets because my platelets had dropped into the 80s. They were checking my liver enzymes, and all of that, and it just went back to normal,
That's
shockingly.
great.
Yeah, so after she was delivered, it pretty much, like, reversed itself, and they say that happens a lot of the time, and that's
That's
why I literally could not stay pregnant. It was between life or death for both of
yeah.
us, and it was a tough decision because if I had the choice, I would have been like, "Hey, let me try to keep her in at least for one more day," but I could have been dead by the next day.
Right.
That's how bad it was deteriorating.
See, I have preeclampsia, but mine was, like, somewhat manageable, like,
Yeah.
for a couple days, so I did stay in the hospital for, like, 3 days before I had her, and then after that, they were like, "Look, it's just getting worse, like, let's just go ahead and
Yeah.
do this." But then mine didn't go away. It was like I had to go home on blood pressure medicine because it would not go
See, I
away.
hear that too. I
Yeah.
hear that happening a lot, and I didn't. Everything just stopped. It was weird.
So, this might be completely out there, but did you have that thing? I don't even know what it's called, but I've heard that like a mom's blood type can like attack their baby's blood type or vice versa. Was it
Yeah,
that?
so if you're negative, it's if you're RH negative, and I am not. Bruce is negative, but he doesn't matter. I
Right.
mean, he does, but
Not
his
in
blood
this
type
situation.
right. His blood type doesn't matter. It only matters about the mom's blood type. That's why when a mom has RH negative, she needs to get the ROGM shots to prevent her body from attacking it.
Even if the baby has is RH negative as well, or is it just if y'all are opposites?
I think it's only if it's opposite, but I'm not 100% certain on that. That's another thing that we can look up. I know for a fact, though, it's only if the mom, because that was one of my big things with my sister is I was like, "Yeah, my sister had to do this, and he's negative." And my doctor was like, "It don't matter. You're positive." And I was like, "Okay. Well, alright, then I guess I don't
Right.
gotta worry about it." But I think all our girls are positive. I think they have my blood type.
See, I okay. This is gonna sound so odd, but after I don't know if it changed after Delaney or after Demi, but my blood type changed. And I know.
Really?
And literally no one believes me when I say it, and it sounds insane. But I used to have AB blood type. It changed to O.
Oh,
So
universal.
yeah, and I didn't know that until because I had to get my blood type tested and everything when Delaney was born, just in case. And then, because that was one of the things that they thought may have been happening once she had IUGR. So
Okay.
then with Demi, they wanted to do all type of blood tests and stuff ahead of time just in case the same thing ended up happening. And they were like, "Yeah, you have O blood type, you have universal." And I'm like, "Okay, that's different." So I have
Yeah,
no
that's
idea. But yeah,
so I'm looking it up. It says, "What can change during pregnancy are the test results, like mixed blood in your system." Did you have to have a blood transfusion at all? What? Okay.
I didn't
That's the
have
only one that makes sense to me.
me too. That's why I'm literally lost. Like, I have no idea. I don't know if maybe I don't know. I have no clue.
Yeah, that's interesting. We gotta keep that one but let's try to look that one up too, because
Yeah,
that's crazy.
honestly,
Unless they just had it wrong the first time
and
and
that's what I was thinking too, but I had to give blood to Delaney. Like, I feel like it couldn't have been wrong, like, 'cause, you know? So I have no idea. Maybe they got it wrong the second time. I don't know. But yeah,
yeah, maybe. That's
because 'cause I've never had
wild.
it tested after I had her, so I don't know.
I wonder if you would test it now, what it would be.
Right, that's what I need to try to figure out. Maybe I'll try it
I would
out.
find, like, a primary care physician and be like, "Yeah, I need to see what my my blood type is.
Right, like,
Because I think
'cause
I'm AB positive, and I think Bruce was, like, AB negative or
yeah,
something.
I've never had any transfusions and no, like, bone marrow or anything like that, so I'm like, I don't know. That's different.
Yeah, yeah, I can't even like, looking that up, it says either, like, incorrect test results or you had a transfusion or it said something like a blood disorder, but, like, you would know that. That would
Right.
populate in your
That's why
test.
I'm like, it's mad random, and then, like, from what I've seen, usually it's just blood transfusions or, like, even if you get bone marrow or
Yeah.
platelets or something like that, but I've never had any of that.
Oh my god, that's so crazy.
Yeah,
I wonder if anybody else has had that.
right. Let
Please
us
reach
know,
out.
please, 'cause we need more information, obviously.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Blood clots are another risk. Pregnancy makes moms more prone to clotting, and if a clot travels to the lungs, it can be fatal.
Did you know blood clots are one of the leading preventable causes of maternal deaths in the US? Many are treatable if caught early, but symptoms are often dismissed. I know they are a lot more common in C-sections as well, because you can't get up and walk for an extended, well, for like a couple hours, depending on the doctor. So when I had delivered the twins, they had actually put like these little massagers on my legs.
Same. Yep.
Yeah, they didn't do it with Kyrie, but they did it with the twins, the nurse was like, "A lot of people hate this," and I'm like, "Ugh, why? This is
Oh,
a
great.
massage, this feels amazing."
They did it for me with both of them, and I'm like, "Please," like, literally, when they were coming to get it, I'm like, "Can we just keep it for a couple more hours?" They're like, "Oh, you're fine. We just want to make sure." Okay, I understand that, but I like this. Like,
Yeah,
let's
this feels great. Please don't
honestly
take
felt
it.
like one of the massage chairs at the nail salon. Like, it was great. I
I
enjoyed it.
liked it. I don't know anyone who didn't like it. Again, if you didn't like that and you had it, please reach out because I wanna know why.
Right. And
So
there's a
weird.
rare but devastating complication called an amniotic fluid embolism. That's when amniotic fluid enters the mother's bloodstream and causes a sudden, severe reaction.
Did you know an amniotic fluid embolism can cause heart and lung failure within minutes, along with massive bleeding? It's unpredictable and survival depends on immediate critical care.
See, now I want to know how they would even figure that out. Like, would it just be the reaction that lets them know? Or is there like a test for that?
So I actually follow a mom on social media who had this and she was intubated and on ECMO. And she thankfully lived. I want to see if we could try to pull her in. I'm going to try messaging her because I know she's explained it. I think they said like she had some symptoms and she was just feeling off. And then like one of the doctors was in there when she was explaining how she felt like right before she went unconscious and then they acted.
I see.
But I have heard of instances where some women have passed away from this, even with catching it on time. It's just so unpredictable. I think when I found out about this could happen, this was one of my biggest fears. Like how is the amniotic fluid the thing that you need for your baby to survive? How can that be the thing that kills you?
That's actually insane. Especially
Yeah.
considering that the baby is floating in amniotic fluid, but also receiving your blood. So why would the amniotic fluid entering your blood like
Right. I
there's
know.
all of this shows why moms need close monitoring, even after delivery, because two-thirds of maternal deaths in the US happen postpartum, not during labor.
And at the end of the day, whether it's during or after birth, every mom deserves to be listened to and given urgent care when something feels wrong.
The truth is, complications are only part of the story. The bigger issue is how moms are treated when something is wrong.
That same mom wasn't just dealing with a complication. She was fighting to be heard. Her baby was in distress, and she and her family advocated for a C section, but the doctor ignored her voice.
And unfortunately, this happens far too often, especially for women of color. Black women in the US are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy related causes than white women, not because of biology, but because their pain and concerns are dismissed.
Did you know even Serena Williams had to fight to be heard after her C section? She knew something was wrong and demanded tests that ultimately saved her life. If she wasn't believed, imagine how much harder it is for moms without a platform.
And this is why advocacy matters. Family members sometimes have to push, and moms should never feel guilty for speaking up. Their lives and their babies' lives depend on it.
Did you know outcomes improve when doctors listen to moms and act quickly? Listening can literally save lives. Come on, doctors.
Please.
Now, here's the hard truth. The US has some of the best NICU technology in the world, but our outcomes don't reflect it. In 2023, maternal mortality was 18.6 deaths per 100,000 live births. For Black women, that number was 50.3, more than triple the rate for white women.
And compared to other wealthy countries where maternal mortality is often under 5, the US is the worst performer. And two-thirds of those deaths happen after delivery when moms go home and supports disappear.
For babies, infant mortality was 5.6 per 1,000 live births in 2023. Although preterm birth rates remained stubbornly high at 10.4%, top causes of this are congenital anomalies, short gestation, low birth weight, and SIDS. March of Dimes gave the US a D plus on their national report card. Clearly, we need better prevention, access, and postpartum care.
1,000%.
America has cutting edge NICUs and therapies that save babies born at the edge of viability. But compared to other wealthy nations, our mothers and babies die more often and preterm birth remains stubbornly high. And here's the hardest truth. In the US, a mother's safety and a baby's chance at survival too often depend on their zip code.
The data points us toward prevention, better prenatal care, equitable access, and stronger postpartum support, not just rescue after complications arise. These facts remind us why NICU families matter and why advocacy matters. We can celebrate how far medicine has come while still pushing for better outcomes for moms and babies.
Yes, because we clearly need it. I was going through all of my facts that I think it was in Japan and New Zealand that their technology advances when their babies are born preterm, they have less complications than our babies do. Not only that, but America gives preterm babies anywhere from 50 to like 70% of survival. That increases in those 2 countries specifically up to like 90%,
Nice.
especially for earlier gestations. So a 23-weeker in New Zealand and Japan have an 80% of survival, whereas in America, that's like 60%.
Not even. Delaney was what, 26 weeks? And they basically they said like there was a 15% chance of survival for her.
Yes,
Like,
I was told at least 60, but seeing the statistics for other countries makes you wonder what are they doing differently?
and why can we not implement that?
Right, right. Well, we'll come at you again with more facts because there is so much to know.
We've got a lot more research to do.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that we were able to come back with some stuff that I had no idea about either. If you are a NICU family or a medical professional, we'd love to hear from you because every ounce.
Truly is a miracle. Bye.
Bye.